Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
WMAL. 6:06 here on this very busy Wednesday morning as we continue our wrap-up and analysis of last night's New Hampshire primary and where the Republican nomination goes from here. We got plenty of guests to help us in that matter as well. At 6:35, Cal Thomas will join us. At 7:05, Director of Strategic Communications for the Republican Party, Tommy Pigott. 7:35, Sean Spicer, who knows a thing or two about these elections. And then at 8:35, our friend John Androsik, Five for Fighting. He's got a new song about the terror attacks of October 7th. That's all coming up, but right now, it's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
We've been talking about School Choice Week all week, haven't we? And there's actually a rally today. It's at the Lincoln Memorial Mall. Oh, it's going to be cold, but not as cold as it was earlier. In
That's
the week.
right.
It should be fine. This is at, what is the time here? 12 noon to 2 p.m. The name of the rally is Time to Hear from Momma. I love that. And this is a coalition of mothers from across the nation, the Black Mothers Forum, and Black Minds Matter. And joining us now from that aforementioned Black Minds Matter is the founder, Denisha Allen, also with American Federation for Children. Denisha, always a great conversation. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much, Larry, for having me and spotlighting this, momentous event that we're about to have today.
It is, and I think most of us who have been rallying around the idea of school choice or vouchers or whatever you want to call it, there was a tipping point many years ago in the District of Columbia, and it was Black mothers, it was Black parents, it was Black children who were at stake. They were the ones that drove the issue. Now, the union ended up squashing it, famously, of course. But remember the movie Waiting for Superman, that amazing documentary where these kids' futures were based on winning a stupid lottery to be able to go to a superior school. Tell me how you can harness that energy now, Denisha, and pick it right back up where it was.
Yeah, well, you're so right. It wasn't that long ago when there were moms, not to just reiterate what you just said, but to just co-sign. Like, you are so right, and we want to harness it. And moms are frustrated still. We have this, momentum that was built post-COVID, during COVID, where there were parents who were just so uneasy about the learning that was happening in schools and not happening in schools, and they decided to take up the mantle and do something about it. The group that we're co-sponsoring this with, the Black Mothers Forum, they were one of these groups. They're based in Arizona, a group of moms who their initial, how they came into be was to help decrease gun violence in the hood. And they wanted to protect their kids from gang violence that was happening. And that's how they implemented. And they saw that, wait a minute, this goes deeper than just, kids passing away in the street. They're not being educated. So they shifted their perspective to, start at the core with getting kids a high-quality education. They have a ton of micro schools across Arizona. They're expanding to Texas and other states. And so they're, the momentum and the urgency that we have, as moms is growing. And it's been started, but COVID definitely helped accelerate that.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on what we see so often now, and you've been one of the people to expose this. Some of the people who are the most dead set against school choice often sort of do it themselves. For instance, Chicago's Teachers Union President Stacey Davis Gates, she is against school choice and giving parents more control over their children's education, and yet she sends her child to a private school. We see this all the time. Can you talk a little bit about that, how it's sort of school choice for me, but not for thee?
That's right. And she's like the number one, hypocrite that we can call out on this, especially as a Black mom trying to do what's best for her kid. And she literally said those words in an interview at CNN, like, why did you pick a private school? And she's like, well, the schools in the neighborhood where, I would send my kid are not the best. They're not good towards this Black little boy. And it's like,
what?
You literally told us why millions of parents want school choice. They want education freedom. It is total hypocrisy. And, it's the reason why we're having this rally. And we titled it, "It's Time to Hear from Mama." It's time that moms across the country stand up and say, we want this, and we don't need a politician. We don't need anyone trying to tell us, the unions trying to tell us what they deem is good for our children. Moms know best. And yeah, we're here to stay, here to listen. And I'm just honored to be in the camp. I have a 1-year-old, so now I can consider myself a mama, in this group of people, because I'm a beneficiary of school choice. That's how I came into this, realm. I was thrust into this realm of education reform because I got a scholarship to go to a private school. And so when you mentioned Chicago, Baltimore, Maryland is another, very soft and spot in my heart, because these are the kids who are languishing in the system that has failed them, and they need more. They need better.
They're minority children, they're black children, they're Latino children, they're children that the certain political class in this country claim to care most about, that they're the ones who are rallying for them, and yet they're keeping them down in this morass and keeping them into this vicious cycle. The name of the rally, as you just heard, is Time to Hear from Mama. It's at noon today at the Lincoln Memorial Mall. And Denisha Allen is our guest, American Federation for Children. Denisha, there was a rally yesterday in Northern Virginia led by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, and it was about choice, but it was about the choice to, to be able to abort a baby before it's born. A lot of people are looking at this election saying that that's going to be their number one issue. At what point do we communicate the message that when these babies are born, they need a quality education, and there is a choice. It's called school choice, and that needs to be the single issue. Will voters actually come up and say, I don't care where you stand on anything else, I only care where you stand on school choice?
We've seen this happen across the country right now, even during primary elections. Even with all of our Republican candidates, they all supported school choice. And that was a non-negotiable, so to say. And so I think, we have come to a place in society where education and your stance on education freedom is going to tip the vote. We've seen this happen in a few states across the country. And I would, shout out the American Federation for Children Victory Fund. We launched a super PAC this past year, at the end of last year, to support those candidates who stand for school choice and to get those people out of office who do not stand for school choice. We've been successful in several states, and we're working in Texas. We've knocked out maybe like 3 or 4 people, and they didn't think that, and these are, squishy Republicans who are not standing by the issue. We're making it a point to say, if you're not going to stand for school choice, you cannot be our candidate. Yeah. And that sentiment has been across the country, not just, with PACs, but with families.
It's events like this that will make a difference. So I hope you have a great turnout. I hope you get some media coverage, too. Time to Hear from Mama, school choice rally today at noon on the Lincoln Memorial Mall. Check it out. Denisha Allen, always great to talk with you. Keep up the great work. You're a warrior, and we love that about you. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Have a great one.
It is 6:15.
WMAL, making sense of the vote, because elections have consequences. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
We have an absolute Looney Tunes story out of Arizona where the chair of the Republican Party there tried to bribe Kari Lake out of running. We'll give you the details on that one. Apparently, we got audio of it. It's unbelievable. And it actually matches what Kari Lake told the CPAC audience last year. Got the audio of that speech that she gave. So that's something that people are keeping an eye on. But we've got another Looney Tune story out of Canada now. How many Looney Tune stories can we have?
Canada is gone. I mean,
this is and this is a great story about where so many people make arguments about what's the so-called culture wars, which of course are wars about basic societal Western civilization norms that are being destroyed by the political leftist Marxists, cultural Marxists in our country. And when conservatives defend against those norms and those principles that have built society over the last 2,000 years, we're told that we're engaging in the culture war.
Yes. Yes. We're always pouncing.
Yes. And oftentimes our argument is, okay, if you make an allowance on this, then where do you draw the line?
Right.
Right? Where do you, I mean, many people who were defending traditional marriage as defined for millennia as one man, one woman, said, where do you draw the line? What about a thruple? What about multiple? And they're, oh, that's ridiculous. Nobody wants. But of course, now we're seeing
Meanwhile,
that.
TLC has a thruple,
Of course.
show on television.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if your objectionable standard about what your right, it's all about who you love. This is just the right to love whoever you love. Okay, well, can you love an animal? How dare you compare this to loving an animal? But that's a actual clear moral argument to make.
Yes.
Which brings us to this story. Out of Rebel News, out of Canada, here's a reporter telling you exactly what happened in the Great White North.
Of course, the infamous 50-year-old man who identifies as a 13-year-old girl. That allows Nicholas to swim with the teenage girls. Oh, and by the way, change and shower with them as well. Even though it's against world aquatic rules, he should be competing in an other division, other as in transgender division. It's disgusting, but no, he is so entitled. He insists on swimming with real biological girls. We finally have a definitive answer to where Nicholas Sapita changes and showers. It is in the girls' dressing room. I saw it myself with my own eyes. He didn't go into the male dressing room. He didn't go into the family dressing room.
So this is a 50-year-old man whose name was Nicholas Cepeda. He now goes by Melody Weishart, and he doesn't just identify as a woman. He identifies specifically as a prepubescent girl.
This is a mental illness. This is so sick.
And therefore he's able to interact with, change clothes with, and swim with little girls.
Yes, because the rule is that we all have to make the mentally ill, delusional 50-year-old man feel comfortable at the expense of 13 to 15-year-old girls. They need to get, and that we saw this with the sorority in Wyoming, that when they were uncomfortable with a man walking around their sorority, they were told to get mental health services, not the man who had invaded a woman's space. And in this case, a young girl's space. Young girls, this is, I can't believe this is happening.
And so when we make the understandable, logical, reasonable
common sense
arguments about moral standards, saying if you allow this, then where do you draw the line? What is stopping someone from doing X, Y, or Z? And you get yelled at as a bigot. Here we go. This is exactly what we're talking about. What's stopping a 50-year-old man from identifying as a 12-year-old girl and interacting with little girls in a changing room?
Look, and it was really sad, but there is only one solution to this, and Riley Gaines has talked about this. You got to quit. You got to quit that team. Yeah. You cannot let your little girl be in this situation.
Here?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Where's the dads?
Where
are
the dads?
Like, there's a lot of moms who come out and say, where is the dad? Because I know my dad would not stand for that. My dad would be having a conversation with that 50-year-old man.
But in Canada, you can get arrested if you speak out. But still, my
dad would be in jail.
That's right, exactly. Swim Ontario, the governing body over swimming in the province of Ontario, said, get this, Swimming Canada and Swim Ontario believe swimming is for everyone. People of all shapes, sizes, genders, beliefs, and backgrounds should have the opportunity to swim to the best of their ability, with the exception that our registrants treat each other with respect and dignity and keep our sport environment free from harassment and abuse. How about free from predators?
How about treating those 15-year-old girls with some dignity, with some respect?
This is where so get ready.
Gross.
Get ready, because it's coming to your neighborhood next. 6:22. All right, so apparently in the White House there's a drug pusher not named Hunter Biden or Jill Biden. She's a doctor of sorts, but apparently not pushing pharmaceuticals on her stepson or anyone else there. No, according to a new Inspector General's report out of the Defense Department, there's a thing called the White House Pharmacy, which isn't really a pharmacy, but it was used to dole out prescription medications to staff, wasted $750,000 in taxpayer money. And basically, they'd hook people up with controlled substances like Ambien and Provigil. Provigil's an upper, Ambien's a downer. In other words, to basically keep up with the schedule at the White House, everyone was stoned out of their minds and addicted to pills. So
it's like Scarface over there.
It is, or Valley of the Dolls.
Yeah,
pick your tragic movie.
Right.
According to the report, the pharmacy let people grab over-the-counter medicines from open bins.
What?
Yeah, it's like
a candy store.
Yeah, it's the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah, exactly.
Grab yourself a handful of Ambien if you need to. What? Are you having trouble staying awake during my meeting? Take some uppers, damn it.
After you put your car keys in this fishbowl.
Well, we don't even get into that part of it. By the way, for those of you who think this is specific to the Biden administration, which is understandable, apparently internal complaints were received in 2018, going back to 2018 about this, so it does go back a couple of years. Although investigators interviewed staffers that worked there under Obama and said that this was going on. It's just a regular issue there. So there you go. It does explain a lot, especially out of Kamala Harris's office. Cal Thomas is next.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Man, oh man, I do not like that Joe Biden fellow. Although I haven't liked him for many, many years. I honestly, it goes back to the Bork thing. Don't even get me started on Clarence Thomas. He was in Northern Virginia rallying with a light show and lasers, celebrating his plan to allow more babies to be killed before they're born. We'll get to that a little later. Also coming up on this edition of O'Connor and Company at 7:05, we'll speak with the Strategic Communications Director for the RNC, which, by the way, it's good to know they have one. Tommy Pigott will be joining us talking about what's next in the Republican nomination process. 7:35, Sean Spicer will reflect on that same issue. And then at 8:35, our friend John Andrasik, talented pop musician, singer-songwriter from Five for Fighting. He's got a brand new song about the lamentable reaction to the terrorist attacks on October 7th. That's all coming up. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside with Julie Gunlock.
Good morning.
Look who's joining us now, Cal Thomas, who's seen his fair share of New Hampshire primaries. And you asked the most important question in your column this week, Cal. Is it over? Well, after last night's performance, Donald Trump won by 20 points back in 2016. By the way, little known trivia fact, John Kasich came in second place. Last night he won by 9 points. Is it over, or is there really a lane for Nikki Haley here?
No, I think it's over in terms of the primary election and the nomination. Barring anything unforeseen, you always have to add that caveat. But look, looking forward to November, the first task of any candidate, Republican or Democrat, is to unify the party. But 19% of Republicans who cast their ballots in New Hampshire yesterday said they would be so dissatisfied with Trump as the nominee, they wouldn't vote for him in November. That's according to AP Votecast. And similarly, 15% of Republicans who participated in Iowa's caucuses last week said they would not support Trump in the general election. So he's got to unify the party. He's got to get at least 90%, and he's got to draw over independents. Nikki Haley got a sizable portion of independents. She won 8 delegates. Trump won 11. She got about, 43% of the total vote. But New Hampshire's a small state. It looks like she's not going to do well at all in South Carolina, her home state, as the governor, both senators, and members of the legislature, most of the Republican ones, have already signed on for her. So I don't think she has an avenue, but Trump's got to do something to shore up his support among Republicans, and he's got to reach out to independents. I thought his victory speech last night was directly opposite of the one he made in Iowa after the Iowa caucuses. He even criticized Nikki Haley's dress. Now, come on. Let's have a little deportment here, a little kindness. What happened to Reagan's 11th commandment, never speak ill of a fellow Republican?
Well,
he's got to get his act together.
Well, yeah, although, to be fair, did you see her shoes? I mean,
Stop. Look, but what do you think about Trump trying at least to bring together, for instance, South Carolina politicians and leaders who joined him on staff? I mean, that's from an optics standpoint, he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, Yeah, well, that looks fine. But South Carolina, New Hampshire, Iowa are not the key states. We all know what the key states are. There are only about 5 or 6 states that really matter, including Michigan and Pennsylvania. They have heavy Democratic votes there, and you've got to reach out to them. And it's interesting to me that the border now, illegal immigration, has now trumped the economy of all things. Yeah. Every election, it's always the economy is first. Now it's immigration. People are getting it, and Biden's on the wrong side of the border, to make a pun on that one.
Yeah, just one follow-up, though, as far as bringing the party together and, really getting people on one message. Isn't Haley at this point, doesn't she need to drop her campaign and join with Trump? Because, look, Trump's going to go off and say silly things about her dress and her shoes or whatever. But Haley hanging on here without a prayer to get this nomination seems to be the real problem here in bringing the party together.
Well, that's true, Julie, and there's a case to be made for that, but only individuals can decide what they're going to do. Mike Huckabee said last night on Fox, he said it before, it's a good line. He says it's easier to get in than it is to get out, meaning to run for president. And he's right about that, because you got money, you got ego, you got supporters, you got a lot of things wrapped up in this. But look, she really is speaking the truth on some very important things that nobody wants to touch, especially Social Security. Everybody knows that without a question, it's going to run out of money, and you only have 2 choices: raise taxes or reduce benefits, or third choice, do both. That's just an honest statement, but nobody wants to touch it. It needs to be reformed, and she's right on that. And Trump says, "Oh no, we're not going to touch it," because he doesn't want the Democrats to beat him up in the general election, as Democrats always do in every general election. That those horrible Republicans are going to take away your Social Security check. It's a lie.
As they would against Nikki Haley, by the way, should she get that nomination somehow. Hey, Cal, you're a man of the arts. Real fast, yesterday, 2 remarkable things happened when the Oscar nominations were announced. First of all, nobody really noticed. I honestly used to hang on this every year, and it's like came as a surprise to me. But secondly, because they've expanded the Best Picture category, 2 of the 10 movies actually sold tickets. Barbie and Oppenheimer both got nominated, and both were in the top 5 in terms of grossing films last year. But of course, the other 8, nobody saw it really. Did anything stand out to you?
No, I think, I wouldn't see Barbie if somebody gave me the tickets. I did see Oppenheimer. It was okay. I didn't think it lived up to the hype. I did see Maestro, the story of Leonard Bernstein. I thought the guy who played Bernstein, even though he's been criticized for his prosthetic nose, they didn't
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, they didn't criticize Tom Hanks for wearing a phony nose in the movie Elvis, but anyway, that's another issue. I think most people have tuned out because they're tired of the political statements. I don't care what you think about the politics. I care about the movie you're nominated for, the movie you acted in. Get back in your lane, for heaven's sakes. I haven't watched the Oscars, the Emmys, the Grammys, or watched Survivor or any of those things for ever, and don't intend to. But then I'm getting to be an old guy, so.
No, stop it.
Hey, meanwhile, I do have a book to recommend.
Oh, what?
But Will You Love Me Tomorrow? The story of the girl groups in the 1960s. Man, it is fascinating. You're old enough to remember some of those girl groups. Momma said you can't hurry love, you just have to wait. She said, love don't come easy. It's just a game of give and take. Boom.
As a girl group started with the Go-Go's and the Bangles for me, Cal. But sure,
really?
I'll go with it. I know
right.
Diana Ross. I had a little crush. All right.
Yeah, but she had great hair.
Thank you, Cal. I think it was a wig. By the way, speaking of the Oscars, Ryan Gosling, actor who played Ken, he got nominated, but Margot Robbie, who played Barbie, did not. There's your patriarchy again.
Sexism.
There's your patriarchy. It is 6:44. I want to tell you, well, this is a crazy story out of Arizona, and to be fair, this is audio that has not necessarily been verified by the 2 parties involved. Kari Lake, of course, the candidate in Arizona for governor, now for Senate, and Jeff DeWitt, the chairman of the Republican Party. And oftentimes it's like, is this real? Is this fake? Is it? Well, there's a lot to be discussed here about potential validity of it. And also it is being promoted on social media, certainly by some pretty reliable sources, including Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
So I want you to hear what it has to say for itself. This is allegedly Jeff DeWitt, the chairman of the Republican Party in Arizona, talking about how people back east want to get Kari Lake off the ticket and not run, and they're offering her basically a bribe. Here, listen.
Is there a number at which
I can be bought?
not be bought?
That's what it's about.
You can take a pause for a couple of years.
No.
And then go right back to what you're doing.
No. 10 million, 20 million, 30, no. A billion, no. This is not about money. This is about our country. I think it's disturbing that they would that anybody would think this is...
No, to be fair, even me, I'll say this. I want a fresh face right now for the reason that I've never seen anyone, I can't think of a single person in a federal race who's lost, ran in and won. I can't think of it. If you can think of it, let me know.
I am not going to let these people who hate our country tell me not to run. You should call them and tell them to get behind me.
Now, they're referring to people back east all the time. And there's a lot of vagaries here. There's no name specifically said here. But the implications are clear that he was sent to try to offer her a job and money to not run in the Senate. By the way, this man, Jeff DeWitt, was the chairman of Trump's 2016 presidential campaign in Arizona. He was then nominated as chief financial officer of NASA during the Trump administration. He is now the chief operating officer for the 2020 presidential election. By the way, this also reminds us of what Kari Lake said during we don't have the CPAC speech yet. At her CPAC speech last year, she alluded to this. She said,
Really?
people were sent by the Republican Party to bribe me and keep me off the ticket.
This is very weird.
It is weird.
And I think later on he says something about if people find out, he'll be killed. So,
Right. And there's another part where Kari Lake says, what are they trying to do? Get rid of me? They're going to bump me off? And then he immediately makes references to drug cartels in all 50 states.
Good God.
It is a bizarro thing. And sadly, one of those things that plays into exactly what people assume goes on behind the scenes in major party politics in this country. And it certainly makes Kari Lake look good. We don't know the source of that. I mean, I'm assuming she is the ultimate source of this. I don't know if Mr. DeWitt would record himself in this conversation.
He's made no statement that I've seen.
Nope. Neither has Kari Lake, actually, as this has been released, and it's been widely distributed. And, well...
We'll be following this.
You are now informed, yeah, and we'll continue to follow it, that's for sure.